The FBI recently placed Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dolton, in handcuffs. As you may recall, there were rumors that her shopping spree may have been financed by some dubious wire fraud. According to the feds, she converted Dolton's millions into significant debt. How crazy is all of this? Let me tell you, this isn't your typical small-town drama. While Dolton's bank account was rapidly depleting, Henyard was living it up like a real-life Kardashian. We're talking about luxury vacations, designer bags, and security detail that costs more than people's homes. But hold on, because we're going to spill all the beans about how this small-town mirror may have been living large on your dime. The situation is so bad that it gets worse the more we discuss it. Ever wonder how a town goes from having millions in the bank to drowning in debt? Tiffany Henyard has some explaining to do, and the feds is listening. Let's go back in time and see how Dolton's golden girl became the FBI's latest headache. It all began when Tiffany Henyard was sworn in as mayor after Frank Zuccarelli abruptly died. At the last minute, people were raising their eyebrows, but Henyard came in hot, promising the world to Dolton's residents. At first, everyone was all about Tiffany, who was like the town's own celebrity, stringing around with big plans and even bigger promises. But that honeymoon period didn't last long before you could even say taxpayer money. Things started to get really shady. She seemed to think she was running her own little kingdom rather than a town, but this is where things went crazy while Dolton's bank account was rapidly depleting. You see, Henyard's administration was not only controversial but downright hostile, and anyone who attempted to criticize her was quickly shut down. You may be wondering how Henyard got away with all of this, but the village's board tried to step in and look into all of this extravagant spending, but Henyard wouldn't have it. She overrode that veto faster than you can say corruption. Henyard was living it up, having her own ATM, talking designer stuff, fancy trips, and a security team that likely cost more than people made in a year.
Elston has been the assessor here in Thornton Township for the past 10 years, an elected position that helps residents deal with exemptions and property tax appeals. But when she arrived at work this morning, something strange happened.
This was your office?
Yes.
What happened when you tried to open it?
It doesn't work.
Not only had Elston been locked out of her own office, but boxes of sensitive documents that she kept in her office were spread around the common area.
This was under lock and key before.
This was under lock and key.
And now it's just out in the open?
Now it's just out in the open. So it has the taxpayer's name, address.
So who did this to you?
Well, I imagine this new supervisor, Tiffany Henyard.
Brian and Natalie, it is very clear that the trustees in Thornton Township have trust issues, refusing to second a motion by Tiffany Henyard to get routine township bills paid.
I motion that we pay the bills for the general fund. Is there a second? Is there a motion and second? Call the roll.
Trustee Jones?
Nope. Radio silence after Henyard attempts to get general fund bills paid. Here's why the trustees didn't go along with it. Last night, the agenda included none of those proposals, so they refused to budge on this.
You guys still don't want to move forward with paying any of the bills in the general fund? That is my question.
Is there a day the previous week that we could pick that we could set to review the bills?
Trustee, y'all already have the bills. Do you want to pay the bills for the general fund?
What the public
No,
needs to
no,
know.
no. They already
Let you
know.
that.
Stop.
They don't need
Our meeting is on
So
Tuesday.
that's a no then.
We're here. We're
That's a
here.
no. So
We had time to review
So
it.
we
Yeah, my question is, are you paying
to
the bills?
review invoices?
Point of order. Is there a motion on the floor to pay the general fund?
So that motion to pay those bills failed. Henyard adjourned the meeting and walked out.
We all know that the federal government doesn't play around, but what are they going to do to Henyard? It's like they're trying to solve a million-piece puzzle with her face on it. What could be so juicy that the FBI is treating her like it's the next Watergate? The FBI is breathing down her neck faster than you can explain why you're a fraud. The FBI isn't playing around with this investigation either. They're hitting Tiffany Henyard hard and fast, and they're looking into every detail of her life. Let me tell you, it's looking more complicated than a toddler's art project. The feds have SLA'd her with not one, but two subpoenas. Yes, they're pursuing her from every angle. The first one is about her personal business dealings. They want to know about her restaurant, property management company, political action, and jitty. But wait, there's more. The second subpoena is all about those township financial records, and we're talking about budgets. payroll documentation, and reimbursements for expenses. When an ex-FBI agent says it's serious, you know it's not just some small-town drama anymore. But here's where it gets juicier. According to former FBI agent Ross Rice, it's very broad in scope, very broad in the number of people and entities they're asking for records on, so there must be some serious allegations of wrongdoing that they're trying to get to the bottom of. It's as if the FBI is trying to follow every single penny that's passed through Dolton's coffers. The FBI isn't just looking at Henyard, they're casting their net wide and far, scooping up their whole inner circle for top at Keith Freeman. He's in the hot seat too, and it doesn't stop there. Other township officials are feeling the heat as well. It's like the feds are trying to untangle a whole web of potential shenanigans. And if you thought that that was bad, well, hold on to your ad, just cause there's more. The FBI's been chatting up witnesses left and right, and they've been grilling local business owners and former employees, and they're piecing together this puzzle one interview at a time, and from the looks of it, the picture isn't pretty for Hen and her crew. The FBI is leaving no table unturned, no receipt crumbled, and no bank statement unexamined. They're determined to get to the bottom of this mess and will not stop until they've uncovered every last detail. So what does this all mean for Tiffany Henyard? Well, it looks like her days of living large on Dolton's dime might be coming to a screeching halt. The feds are closing in, and they have more receipts for her. Hen's empire of luxury and excess is starting to look shakier than a Jenga tower in an earthquake. But just when you thought that Henyard couldn't dig a deeper hole, she bought herself a gold-plated shovel. Y'all, the amount of taxpayer money she's accused of blowing through could make Jeff Bezos blush. But what was she spending it all on? Buckle up, because this shopping list is definitely just throw it in the bag. Let's start with the big one, $1 million dual police security detail. Yeah, you heard that right. While Dolton struggles to keep the lights on, Henyard struts around with the security team that cost more than some small country's entire defense budgets. It's like she thought she was the president of the United States, not the mayor of a small town in Illinois. Now you might think, oh, okay, but maybe Dolton's just really dangerous. Well, honey, if it was this security detail shirt wouldn't help when Henyard was living it up with her personal army. The rest of Dolton was left high and dry. When it came to fighting actual crimes, it's like she was trying to play cops while the real police were left with water guns. But wait, y'all, it gets better. She took my comment that Henyard was living like there was no tomorrow very personally, going on a buying binge that would have made the Kardashians jealous. We don't know precisely what she bought, but she spent $33,000 on Amazon in a single day. I mean, how many wigs, batteries, and BRS can you get on Amazon? She also purchased a lifetime supply of gourmet coffee, gold-plated staplers, and a designer face mask. Whatever it was, it certainly wasn't resolving Dolton's pothole issue. As I mentioned earlier, Hen was living in great debt. We're talking about millions of dollars in debt, but she wasn't finished. Oh no, she was only getting started because she still had to take her upscale vacations, stay at luxury hotels, eat at high-end restaurants. If it was expensive, she was there. It was like she was on a mission to single-handedly stimulate the economy of every other place except Goon, because Miss Mamas pretty much ran the town to the ground. But here's the thing, every party has to end at some points, and when the FBI crashes your shine day, you know it's going to be a rude awakening. You're going through Henyard's receipts like a mama checking Halloween candy, and let me tell you, they're finding more tricks than treats. But hold on, y'all, because if you thought that the FBI was the only big name in this mess, think again. There's a new sheriff in town, and she used to run Chicago while she's poking around in Dolton's business. Well, let's just say that when one mayor starts digging into another's dirt, you know things are about to get real messy. The drama in Dolton got turned up to 11, because guess who got called in to play detective? None other than Chicago's former mayor, Lori Lightfoot herself. Now, what's a big city ex-mayor doing in little old Dolton? Well, it turns out that when you've got a mayor who's spending money like it's going out of style, you need someone who knows how to follow the cash. See, the Dolton Village Board isn't playing around anymore. They voted to bring in Lightfoot to investigate Tiffany Henyard spending. Lightfoot isn't just a random pick. She was a federal prosecutor before she became mayor, so you know she's not about that bullshit. Lightfoot's job is to expose her and shine a big light on her spending. The people in Dolton are furious that their tax money has been going out the window faster than a kid's allowance at a candy store, and they want answers now. But you guys aren't lying. She's fighting back, or at least trying to. She's out here saying that this whole thing is just politics, claiming that people are targeting her because she's a woman because of her race. She's essentially trying to play the victim while she's living it up on the town's dime. And she's looking through receipts, checking every credit card statement, expense report, and trip you took, and let me tell you, what she's finding is shocking as F. Remember the lavish vacations, the Amazon buying spree, the million-dollar security detail? When you put everything together, the picture that emerges isn't pretty. Life with its investigation seems like a reality TV show, but with far more, there is a fresh discovery, a new receipt, and a new reason for Dolton inhabitants to shake their heads every day. My foot isn't just looking at the past, she's trying to figure out how to stop this money leak before Dolton becomes a ghost town. It's like she's trying to plug a dam with 1,000 holes, and he's still up there punching new ones. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, but the train is made of dollar bills, and the track is Dolton's bank account. A mayor is looking into another mayor, and the FBI is snooping around in a town asking where all of their money went. It's like a political ploy, but there are actual repercussions for actual people you know. Even though the streets of Dolton are heating up faster than a summer sidewalk, what's causing these small-town residents to become so enraged? Well, let me tell you, they're more upset than a wet hand about Tiffany Henyard's spending spree, and who can blame them for being this way? Enraged, the residents of Dolton are no longer remaining silent. Instead, they are demonstrating and calling for Henyard to resign. They are fed up with seeing their hard-earned taxes swiftly evaporate in order to support their mayor's extravagant lifestyle. While H is living it up like she has a golden ticket to the factory, these people are watching their town get deeper into debt. At a recent village council meeting, she was hauled for filth, of course.
Tiffany, there's one comment that I've heard out of your mouth that I actually agree with.
I wouldn't trust this woman if she stood on a stack of Bibles and had her tongue notary.
Things got so heated that the police had to clear the room because people were very big mad people were shouting, pointing fingers, and demanding answers. One business owner, Lawrence Gardner, even said he was harassed by local police after he refused to contribute to Hen's political campaign. That's some scary stuff right there. Definitely give him mob, especially when it seems like the local police were in Tiffany's pocket. But it isn't just the regular folks who were mad, even the village board is trying to put their foot down. They voted to investigate Henyard's spending, but she shut that down faster than you can blink. I mean, she loves her little lavish lifestyle, and she wasn't about to let the village board stop her from living her best life on the town's coin, which she should have never been doing in the first place. Cheap Beats told the village board quickly, and she shut it down now. This is where things get real serious. The state of Illinois is so fed up with this mess they decided to freeze funds to Dolton. That's right, they're cutting off the money pipeline. It's like when your parents cancel an allowance because you spend it all on candy, except in this case, the candy is designer bags, luxury trip, and the parents are the whole state. And if that's not bad enough, Dolton might be facing some hefty fines too. All this drama is making people in Dolton wonder what's going to happen to their little old town. They're watching their streets crumble while Henyard cruising around in style, and one local trustee said the community deserves this level of financial transparency. And that's just a fancy way of saying show us where the money went. Well, the FBI isn't helping Henyard case either, with the FE sniffing around and the townspeople up in arms. It's looking like Kenya's empire is shakier than a house of cards in a tornado, because people are starting to connect the dots, and the picture they see isn't pretty. The people are ready to storm the castle, and by castle I mean the mayor's office. They want answers. But now that Henyard empire is crumbling, what's going to happen to Dolton? The answer might surprise you. Dolton is having some very major problems with Tiffany Henyard, who is acting very unsteady. The town's facing a crisis bigger than a Texas-sized tornado, but let's break it down for you. Dolton's going from having millions in the bank to being deeper in the hole. We're talking about $5 million in debt. That's not just bad math, that's a full-on financial disaster for a small town. It's like someone took the town's piggy bank and smashed it with a sledgehammer. And it's not just about money. Dolton's leadership is looking emptier than a ghost town at night, with Henyard under investigation and the town board at each other's throats. I just know Zeus channel would kill for this type of messy drama, well, except for the part where the feds are sniffing around, cause y'all know that nobody likes the feds sniffing around their business, cause the feds know how to sniff, and they're almost always going to find something. But anyways, you might be thinking, is this the end of Dolton? Well, hold on to your horses, because this isn't Dolton's first rodeo, and it might not be the last. But let's get real to the alleged deception of second for a millisecond Henyard extends beyond the opulent vacations and high-end purses. It's got long-term consequences that could hit Dolton harder than a freight train. First off, there's the trust issue. When a mayor's been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, it's not easy for folks to trust the next person who comes along. Pledging to make things right, people in Dolton might be side-eyeing their leaders for years to come, and it's not going to be easy for whoever comes and takes over. Then there's the money problem. Dolton's bank account is emptier than a politician's promises, and that means trouble for everybody. We're talking about potential cuts to essential services, delays and infrastructure repairs, and maybe even higher taxes down the line. And this is where it gets very serious. All this drama could scare off businesses, because again, who wants to invest in a city where the mirror plays fast and loose with the town's money? Who wants to set up shop in a town that's got more drama than a reality TV show? And without new businesses coming in, Dolton's going to have a hard time bouncing back from all this mess, especially with the reports of budget cuts from the state. Well, it's not going to be a walk in the park for sure, but first things first, they got to clean that house up. That means getting to the bottom of all this financial funny business and making sure it doesn't happen again. Dolton got to go through a fumigation of sorts. They got to get rid of all the pests before they can start fresh. Then Dolton's going to need some new blood in charge, somebody who can balance the books, be transparent without treating the town's bank account like their personal piggy bank. But here's the kicker, Dolton's recovery isn't just going to be about the folks in charge. It's going to take the whole town pulling together to try to fix things. We're talking about community meetings, volunteer efforts, and maybe even some good old-fashioned bee sales to raise some kind of funds. And y'all, don't count out the power of a small town with its back against the wall. Dolton might be down, but it ain't out. Sometimes it takes hidden rock bottom to light up fire under folks. This could be the wake-up call. Dolton needs to come back stronger than ever. But y'all, Tiffany Henyard fall from grace is like a crash course, and why we got to keep our eyes on local politics. All this talk about presidencies, but what's going on in the towns? This mayor went from living large to facing the FBI, and now Dolton's drowning in debt, while Henyard's got some serious explaining to do. There are also reports that people in her inner circle are willing to snitch on her and testify against her in court in the FBI case. Now, some people might feel ape away about this because of the lack of loyalty, but Hager accomplices are facing years in prison. Like I said, nobody wants a case with the feds, because the feds are almost always going to win because they don't play around, especially in fraud cases like this. With insider snitching on her, let's just say that Henyard might want to start putting her affairs in order, because the feds are closing in, and considering that nobody likes or respects her in Dolton anymore, she's not going to have anyone protesting for her release. Well, you know, the people have a whole lot to say about it. They've been in the comments, and they've been saying stuff like, throw this girl in prison for life stealing from taxpayers. Dolton County Democrat Mayor Tiffany Henyard is a criminal and should be thrown in prison, and Tiffany Henyard, corrupt mayor of Dolton, is going to go to prison for such a long time. Spent over $9 million in less than 3 years, leaving the township about $5 million in debt. Henyard isn't a super mayor, she's a super villain, a very incompetent one. Pledging to make things right, people in Dolton might be side-eyeing their leaders for years to come, and it's not going to be easy for whoever comes and takes over. Then there's the money problem. Dolton's bank account is emptier than a politician's promises, and that means trouble for everybody. We're talking about potential cuts to essential services, delays and infrastructure repairs, and maybe even higher taxes down the line. And this is where it gets very serious. All this drama could scare off businesses, because again, who wants to invest in a city where the mirror plays fast and loose with the town's money? Who wants to set up shop in a town that's got more drama than a reality TV show? And without new businesses coming in, Dolton's going to have a hard time bouncing back from all this mess, especially with the reports of budget cuts from the state. Well, it's not going to be a walk in the park for sure, but first things first, they got to clean that house up. That means getting to the bottom of all this financial funny business and making sure it doesn't happen again. Dolton got to go through a fumigation of sorts. They got to get rid of all the pests before they can start fresh. Then Dolton's going to need some new blood in charge, somebody who can balance the books, be transparent without treating the town's bank account like their personal piggy bank. But here's the kicker: Dolton's recovery isn't just going to be about the folks in charge, it's going to take the whole town pulling together to try to fix things. We're talking about community meetings, volunteer efforts, and maybe even some good old-fashioned bee sales to raise some kind of funds. And y'all, don't count out the power of a small town with its back against the wall. Dolton might be down, but it ain't out. Sometimes it takes hidden rock bottom to light up fire under folks. This could be the wake-up call. Dolton needs to come back stronger than ever. But y'all, Tiffany Henyard fall from grace is like a crash course, and why we got to keep our eyes on local politics. All this talk about presidencies, but what's going on in the towns? This mayor went from living large to facing the FBI, and now Dolton's drowning in debt, while Henyard's got some serious explaining to do. There are also reports that people in her inner circle are willing to snitch on her and testify against her in court in the FBI case. Now, some people might feel ape away about this because of the lack of loyalty, but Henyard accomplices are facing years in prison. Like I said, nobody wants a case with the feds because the feds are almost always going to win because they don't play around, especially in fraud cases like this, with insiders snitching on her. Let's just say that Henyard might want to start putting her affairs in order because the feds are closing in, and considering that nobody likes or respects her in Dolton anymore, she's not going to have anyone protesting for her release. Well, you know, the people have a whole lot to say about it. They've been in the comments, and they've been saying stuff like, throw this girl in prison for life stealing from taxpayers. Dolton County Democrat Mayor Tiffany Henyard is a criminal and should be thrown in prison, and Tiffany Henyard, corrupt mayor of Dolton, is going to go to prison for such a long time, spent over $9 million in less than 3 years, leaving the township about $5 million in debt. Henyard isn't a super mayor, she's a super villain, a very incompetent one. But I got to know what y'all feel about this. Drop your thoughts in comments below, and then check out this next video.